Good evening and welcome back to the Rory Talks Football channel, your daily Arsenal news updates, debates and my opinions. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. Bottom right hand corner, we are very close to 5,000 subscribers, which I massively appreciate. Smash a like on the stream as well if you are... We're back. We're back. What a great start to the stream that was. The PC has died again. Unbelievable. Wouldn't be a good stream if the PC didn't crash. At least normally we get 20 minutes into the, we get a good 15 or 20 minutes of streaming before it all goes wrong. I can't believe it. Anyway, I hope you're all well. I didn't manage to say hello to everyone, so I apologize for that. Fred actually gave £2, which I think is a donation for a new PC. So Fred, thank you very much. I do massively appreciate it. Off to Rwanda with my mates when Arsenal win the league. With that De Bruyne news, I may as well look to book tickets now. Fair play, fair play. Taking the old visit Rwanda, literally. I appreciate it. Well done to you. But it is good to see you all. So look, lots to get into. Gabriel, Hi says it's his last stream until holiday. Well, I appreciate you being here, Hi. And again, enjoy the holiday. We will talk about KDB. We'll talk about Chelsea's continued spending. But obviously, we'll cover all of the Arsenal stuff first. And the first big topic is Gabriel Magalhaes. And it first came out last night from John Cross. Gabriel Magalhaes is being targeted by Saudi Arabia. It remains to be seen if Arsenal will enter any negotiations, although Arsenal do like Aymeric Laporte. Now, we'll talk about Laporte specifically in a minute anyway. And then Ryan Taylor today said Gabriel Magalhaes is being lined up for a move to Saudi Arabia, but Arsenal currently have no plans to sell the player, despite his starting 11 omission against Forest. Now, obviously, Gabriel didn't start against Forest, and that was interesting. It was unusual. Gabriel had started, I believe, 73 Premier League games in a row before that game. So it was unusual for him not to play. I do think he'll come straight back into the starting lineup this weekend. In terms of Saudi Arabia being a threat, I'm not so sure. It's a very weird one for them to go for. He's young. He isn't surplus to requirements at Arsenal. He hasn't given any sort of hint that he wants to leave the club. In fact, actually, Gabriel 9 months ago, when he signed a new long-term contract at the club, said, "It's my dream and today is the best day of my life. I am so happy to extend my contract here. Every game the supporters are pushing the team in the stadium. It's why I'm so happy to stay here. Arsenal is my home." That does not sound like the words of someone who's looking to leave to Saudi Arabia. Quite the opposite. So Saudi Arabia would have to come in with something massive. PSG were interested in Gabriel earlier in the window, and they were told he's not for sale. This is, he's untouchable. And there's nothing really that suggests that has changed. In terms of Laporte, who you would imagine would be the first choice replacement for Gabriel, I don't personally see Man City selling to Arsenal again. Not this season, at least. Have I missed much? You missed the stream started with a PC crash, and then other than that, we're just talking about Gabriel. Saudi Arabia in for Gabriel Magalhaes, whether or not it could happen. There's a report from someone that was like a tier of source that's not even worth naming, saying that supposedly Saudi Arabia are looking at 52 million for Gabriel. Double it and we can start talking. I think 52 million for Gabriel, current market, jog on, basically. So look, I don't see it happening. Is the truth. But we'll see. Did you see Fab's tweet saying we would buy Raya as soon as we have funds? Fabrizio Romano doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to David Raya. I'm certain of it. And I find it very weird that every single time Fabrizio Romano has mentioned David Raya's loan, as soon as, by the way, because he didn't know it was a loan until Ornstein reported it. Before Ornstein reported it, Fabrizio was saying it was that Raya had signed a 5-year deal. So Fabrizio got that wrong, and every single time he's mentioned it since then, he throws in the FFP. This is to avoid FFP. Blah blah blah. Blah. Keeps mentioning FFP. Never mentions FFP when he talks about Chelsea. So to be honest, Fabrizio is beginning to get on my nerves a bit when he talks about Arsenal and talks about David Raya. Is the Gabriel source legit? Well, Ryan Taylor is legit, and he said that Saudi Arabia are interested. The source that mentioned an actual specific fee is not whatever the word is, reliable. So what is actually happening with Raya? So Raya has signed a contract with Arsenal. He's also signed a new contract with Brentford. So he signed a year-long contract with Brentford that extends his contract with them until 2025, because obviously it would have made no sense for him to sign a loan deal with Arsenal and then be free next summer. So he signed a year-long extension at Brentford. Arsenal have paid £3 million for him to be on loan this season, and there is an option to buy him next summer permanently for £27 million. And it sounds like that probably will be triggered. In terms of FFP isn't the reason that solely that we've done the loan. It's also so that we've freed up funds to spend on someone else this summer if we need to. Romano is a Chelsea stooge. I don't disagree. Do we need to move? Do we need a forward more than a defender? Maybe. I don't know. I feel like if we lose Tierney, we do need one more defender at least to cover us for this season. Do you think we will buy someone to cover Timber? So we'll talk about that in a second. In terms of David Raya, obviously Arsenal have announced it today. 27-year-old. Blah, 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 blah. Edu said, we welcome David to us on a season-long loan from Brentford. David is a top-quality goalkeeper who has consistently performed at a high level with Brentford in the Premier League. With David joining us, we are adding quality and depth to our squad so we can perform at the highest level in all competitions. As part of the agreement, there is an option to make the move permanent. David will wear the number 22 shirt. Is there not any obligation to buy? No. There is. So again, this is something that Fabrizio incorrectly reported. He incorrectly reported that if Raya played a certain number of games, Arsenal would be obligated to buy him. There is no mention of an obligation from any reporter or from Arsenal themselves. So look, maybe Fabrizio knows something that no one else does, but based on the history of this deal, I'd be surprised. Let's not get too cocky on winning the league after the KDB injury. He'll be back in January and City will no doubt go on another insane winning run. Yeah, I was talking about this earlier. I was on the Never a Foul show earlier. And look, KDB being out for City is a big blow. It's not the end of the world for them. You know, they'll find a replacement, probably Paqueta, probably someone on top of Paqueta now as well. Phil Foden, Bernardo Silva. Kovacic, they're not going to suffer in the same way that any other club would if they lost a player of the level of Kevin De Bruyne. Sky reported an obligation to buy as well, so they are just as clueless. But in that case, maybe it is true. If Sky reported it as well, maybe it is true. But I've not seen it personally. Who bid for Gabriel, Rory, and how much? We don't know. Supposedly, I think it was Al Ittihad. Were looking at 52 million. That was, and I genuinely can't even remember the name of the source. It was a level of source that I didn't even bother referencing. Because of how bad it was. So, have your top 4 predictions been affected at all by what you've seen in game week 1? Yeah, potentially. I would potentially be looking at swapping Newcastle and Liverpool. I'm probably moving Villa down from 5th because I don't think that's going to happen. Jacob Olofsson, good to see you. The FPL code is MDH9GQ. I'll type it in the chat for you. MDH9GQ. Kieran Tierney and the whole kind of, this is all one big thing of Tierney and Timber and potential defensive signings that we make. Ex-West Ham United employee, who we've obviously not really mentioned since the Rice saga, but he is very, very good with West Ham news, said West Ham could make a move for Kieran Tierney. John Percy from The Telegraph said keep an eye on Aston Villa and Kieran Tierney. Villa are looking for a left-back as Luca Digne has interest from Saudi Arabia. So that's one of those where you'd need dominoes to fall. Digne would need to go to Saudi and then Villa might become interested. And then in terms of replacements, which is both Timber and Tierney, Ryan Taylor said Arsenal are prepared to add another left-sided defender to their ranks before the September the 1st transfer deadline. There is a chance they could turn to a cost-effective alternative, such as Leicester City's Timothy Castagne or Southampton's Carl Walker-Peters. Now, actually, that's kind of contradictory in that he's saying Arsenal are prepared to add another left-sided defender, but then he references Timothy Castagne and Carl Walker-Peters, who are arguably better off the right. What both of them are is they're players that can play off the left or the right, and of course that would make sense. And for me, even if we lose Kieran Tierney and obviously Timber is out for a while, I still think there's a bigger lack of depth on the right-hand side than there is on the left-hand side. With the left-hand side, I am happy with Gabriel, Kivior, Zinchenko, and Tomiyasu. On the right-hand side, it's Ben White, Saliba, and Tomiyasu, effectively. And that I'm more worried about. Assuming that Rob Holding and Cedric are obviously moved on. And even if they're not moved on, they're just not good enough. So, for me, it's actually the right-hand side that's more of a problem. And that's where I would probably go into the market. There are other players. Fresneda becomes an option again. Simikan becomes an option again. But I do think it's going to have to be a relatively cheap player because Timber will come back. And when he does, you don't want to have an expensive player that can't even get near the team. £2 super chat from Matt Medias. Thank you very much, Matt. He says, do you think Kivior could cover left back for now? Yes. And first of all, I think Zinchenko, assuming that he's fit, comes straight back into the team. In fact, my back four would go back to being last year's back four when everyone's fit. Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, and Zinchenko. And then, if Zinchenko isn't fit, then you bring in Kivior, who I thought was good in pre-season. Kivior started at left back, moved into midfield, and was good. He was good. Was he better than Timber? Probably not, but he wasn't much, significantly worse than Timber. Would rather we loan Cancelo until January, City get him off the books, and he's ineligible for Arsenal City games. Look, Cancelo's a great player when he's at his best. He worries me when he's not happy. Look, there's a reason that City sent him out on loan to Bayern Munich and want to get rid of him. There's a reason Bayern Munich didn't want to make that deal permanent. Obviously, if you bring him in on loan, you kind of alleviate that issue because it's only a loan and you're not stuck with him. But it's a difficult one. Emilio says, Rory, I'm sorry, but there's no way we're letting Gabriel go. It would be embarrassing if it goes through it, in my opinion. Yeah, unless we got a crazy fee. Look, if you get 80, 90, 100 million for him and you can reinvest that, then maybe it's an option. But I don't see it happening. And if we were to take anything less than 80, it would be a problem. What do you think of Elise to Chelsea? We'll talk about that in a bit. We'll talk about Chelsea in a bit. We have so many injury-prone defenders. Well, the thing is, right, Saliba wasn't injury-prone until his back injury. And I don't think he's injury-prone now. He just got an injury. Timber, before this, Timber had never missed more than 13 days through injury. Couldn't be less injury-prone. But again, very unlucky, gets an injury. So, Rory, you had to fight Mudryk yesterday on the football terrace on the 115 charges. Oh yeah, that Dobbins guy. I've never like listening to that guy for 10 seconds. If you had to guess what job he did, you'd be like, yeah, he's a lawyer. Maguire going for 30 million is Gabriel is 5 times that. Yeah, 100%. Well, that's fallen through. By the way, United have had an absolute stinker. United could have taken 60 million quid for Maguire and McTominay, and they pushed it, and they wanted more, and now they're both falling through, which is crazy. Do you think Timber will be the same player when he returns? Not immediately, but he'll get back to his best, I'm sure. Do you remember who replaced Timber when he got injured? Yeah, it was Tomiyasu. Tomiyasu replaced Timber when he got injured, and for me, it wouldn't have been. For me, Kivior would be that guy. I think Kivior is better than Tomiyasu, both going forwards and defensively and moving into midfield, kind of across the board. To be honest, a lot of clubs are struggling. Madrid missing 2 big players. Mings is out, Timber's out, KDB's out. Emi Buendia is out for Aston Villa as well. It's not just us, so we have to be happy it's Timber and not the likes of Saka or Martinelli. True. It could have been a more damaging player to lose. It could have been a Saka, a Saliba again. It's just gutting. It's brutal for him, really. Tierney leaving, Timber injured, Zinni and Tommy injury prone. That leaves us with Kivior, who's a centre-back by trade. It's not looking good, bruv. Well, this is why I think we might go in for someone. And Kyle Walker-Peters could be that guy. Apparently, Arteta is quite a long-term fan of Kyle Walker-Peters as well. The FPL is invalid. Any help? I'm not sure. It shouldn't be. What's with all these ACL injuries? I think it's a bit of a coincidence. If I'm honest, I think it's a combination of players are playing far more games, which means more injuries are going to happen. But then also it just happens that so many have happened, like a lot have happened in a small space of time. So then every time you hear about another ACL injury, it adds to the idea that there's a lot of ACL injuries at the moment. God, Saka doing an ACL, never put that in the universe. I'd cry. I've not cried since the Champions League final in 2006 when I was 10. I'd cry. I get you saying right side defender, but I think we need a left-sided defender. Well, I think ideally, if you bring in a Kyle Walker-Peters, you've got someone that can do both, right? Timber is a right-sided defender. He was playing at left-back, but he is a right-sided defender. What happened with Gabriel? There's just interest from Saudi Arabia. I'd rather keep Tierney. I don't rate Tommy as a right-back, let alone a left-back, and think Tierney would be better. I don't disagree. I would be open to doing that. That guy Cunha for Wolves was so good against Man United. He ran through their midfield so many times. But there were so many Wolves players that can do that. There was like Cunha, Mateus Nunes, João Gomez, obviously Sarabia, Neto. It was crazy. Have Saudi bid for Gabriel yet? No, not according to anyone reliable anyway. Salah to Saudi? Yeah, it came out this afternoon. Salah and Alisson both potentially going to Saudi. Even if Liverpool lose one of them, massive blow. Would much rather an actual left-sided player. We don't need any more versatile players right now. Yeah, but fair enough. But if you were to say we can either have a right-sided defender or a left-sided defender, which would you rather? For me, right now, it'd be a right-sided, because our depth is less on the right. Because we have Kivior on the left side, we don't have that. We don't have the Kivior depth on the right side. Because as soon as Saliba gets injured now, Ben White has to move to right centre-back, and we have no right-back unless it's Tomiyasu. Whereas if Gabriel gets injured, you bring in Kivior. So for me, and that's why, effectively, even though he's been playing at left-back, Timber was brought in as also the depth for Ben White and Saliba. Balogun for Yusuf Fofana at Monaco. You're saying no? I'd say Fofana plus 20 mil for Balogun, yeah. Wait, just got here. What's happening with Gabriel? Saudi Arabia are interested. Nothing more than that. It's believed to be Al Ittihad are interested in Gabriel. Cunha has such a good drive, but doesn't have that good pass to a striker. No, he doesn't. He also hasn't got a good finish on him. If White gets injured, I do not want to see Partey there again. I think Partey could do all right there long term. Everything else just has to work. What's your opinion on Maguire demanding United pay his contract off? Fair play to him. Fair play to him. They gave him the crazy contract in the first place. That's on them. You know, why, just because they made a mistake, should Maguire forfeit the contract? You know, he shouldn't. Rory, would you do a Barella Flow swap deal plus cash? I'd probably do a Barella Flow straight swap, to be honest. Barella's class. Remember Declan Rice could play centre-back as well? Yeah, but I don't want to take Declan Rice out of midfield. That's the issue with that is I'd rather just go and buy a right-back than take Declan Rice out of midfield. Who are our potential centre-back options if Gabriel goes? Depending on the money you got for him, obviously some people think Laporte is an option. I don't think Man City would sell him to us. I'd say Mark Guehi at Crystal Palace is an option. Ignacio is an option. William Saliba, good to see you as well. Reckon Simican would be class? Yeah, Simican would be a good option. For me, right-back wise, I'd bring in Fresneda, Simican, or Kyle Walker-Peters. Personally. Thoughts on True Geordie saying Lascelles is as good as Maguire? Let's not get carried away. Do you know what I mean? Any more news on Kudus? No, lots of clubs are interested in him, but there's nothing advanced so far. Look, Chelsea worry me, and we'll talk about this now. Chelsea worry me because they're just not stopping. You know, they've got Caicedo, Lavia, and Elise. Just boom, 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 back-to-back days. Once they've got them three done, Kudus, probably. Apparently, they still want another striker, another keeper. It's insane. Last year, they rebuilt their entire squad, and now they're rebuilding that entire squad again. You bring in Elise, right? Last summer, you bought in Madueke. No, last summer you bought in Sterling. Last January, you bought in Madueke. And now you're bringing in Elise. You've bought in 3 players to play off the right wing in 3 transfer windows. And you already had Callum Hudson-Odoi, like Ziyech. It's flabbergasting. It genuinely is. And if they're going for Kudus, again, you know, surely that wouldn't be to play off the right wing. I mean, Elise, 35 million, very, very good value. And I'm kind of shocked that Arsenal actually weren't sniffing around that as a Saka replacement. And I feel like the injury might have been the reason. He's not going to be back for a long time. According to Roy Hodgson, he's out for a considerable period of time. That's what Roy Hodgson said on Friday. So he's going to be out for a while, but go get Sterling. He would ball out. Do you know what? If Sterling became available for a cheap price, it wouldn't surprise me if Arteta went in for him. It wouldn't. Arteta liked Sterling at City. Rory, don't worry, in a season they'll all want out. Well, look, they are going to end up in this situation where they've got, again, so many players. It's crazy. Sorry for me, midfield of Enzo, Lavia, Caicedo would be an absolute disaster class. No creation nor forward football. Oh yeah, that's the issue. Those 3, in my opinion, can't all play together. They can't all play together. But if you're looking long-term in terms of squad depth, Lavia is unbelievable depth for Caicedo. In that sense. I've seen fans losing their mind over Gabriel links. He's a top player. Other clubs will be interested in our top players. Well, yeah, there's that. I don't know why people lose their minds over Saudi links. Saudi have been linked to virtually every player in world football this summer. So, you know, I feel like the fact that Gabriel got dropped against Forest means that people are playing into it a bit more. But he's not going anywhere. They have this big squad with no Europe. Yeah, if they don't qualify for Champions League, honestly, if they don't qualify for Champions League this season, they're in real trouble. They are. Chelsea is just attracting a nest of self-interested mercenaries. Good luck trying to manage that lot. I agree. And actually, I can't remember the name of the guy at Brighton who, not Tony Bloom, the guy at Brighton who negotiates all of these deals, basically alluded to the fact he could not believe Caicedo didn't want to go to Liverpool. Like, once they'd agreed that deal with Liverpool, he said a club the size of Liverpool with that history, he'd run up the M6 to play for them. And then he was like, and then for whatever reason, Caicedo decided to join Chelsea. So there is a, financial thing. How much do you think we could get Sterling for? No idea. Because the thing is, I don't understand why clubs are paying Chelsea so much money. I don't think Havertz should have gone for 65 million. I don't think Mount should have gone for 60 million. So I don't know. Thoughts on the new ballot system? Have you ever got a ticket off the exchange? I get almost all of my tickets off the exchange, yeah. I got a ticket, or my girlfriend got a ticket for Fulham through the ballot, and that's the only ticket we've got through the ballot so far. 35 million for Sterling. See, the issue with that is that if you were willing to pay 35 million for Sterling, I'd rather have just activated the buyout clause for Elise. So I don't think I'd spend more than 25 on Sterling. Thoughts on Gabriel Jesus as a right winger? Yeah, well, obviously he did it a lot at City, but it was kind of specifically when he joined Arsenal, it seemed like he was a number 9, and he alluded to the fact that he was being brought in to play number 9. So what's the exchange? So if you have an Arsenal ticket, either you're a season ticket holder, or you get a ticket in the ballot and you can't or don't want to go to a game, you effectively can give it back to Arsenal, who then put it onto a thing called the ticket exchange, which is where the ticket is relisted at face value. So you're not paying it you're not paying 4 times more than the ticket's actually worth to a reseller. And then people that don't have a ticket can get the ticket off the ticket exchange. And it's how, it's how I got to the Forest game. It's how I'd say 80% of the games I got to last season, I got off the ticket exchange. The ballot for red members for the Tottenham game comes out tomorrow. Very nervous. I'm not expecting to get one, but you never know. Does that mean you're not a season ticket holder in the same seat every time? Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not a season ticket holder. I've been all over the ground in the last year or so, unfortunately. Future number 8, Eze, is the man for the future. I agree. I'd love Eze at Arsenal. I'd love him. I feel sorry for Madueke, ZX, Sterling, because I can see they will not be in the matchday squads and they'll be paid a lot of money. Yeah, it's crazy. 960 million plus 40 million for Kudus means they go into the billions. What the actual how, just how. It's crazy. And this is the thing. And where do you... I've seen reports that Premier League clubs are going to complain to the Premier League. And I think that's just a bit, telltale... You're not going to get anything out of it. We know that even if the Premier League opened an investigation, it takes years and years and years. I don't know what you do about it, but the only thing you can do is just beat them. Beat them on the pitch, and it doesn't matter. All these teams that are going to complain, beat them on the pitch. Yeah, in fact, actually, right, this is how you have to look at it. No one likes the way Chelsea are going about their business, other than Chelsea fans. No one likes it. If you're every other Premier League club, you've got the opportunity to seriously damage Chelsea Football Club as an entity if you beat them this season. If you beat them and keep them out of Europe for 1-2 more seasons, with the amount of money they've spent, the amount of people they've got on the books, that club is in turmoil, like financial ruin. So that's what you've got to do. Don't go and complain to the Premier League. Go and beat them. And I think there's a lot of teams that are capable of beating this current Chelsea team. There's no point to the Red Silver memberships, is there? Just a lottery. Yeah, but you can't enter the lottery without being a Red member. I don't think you can use the ticket exchange without being a Red member either. Thoughts on the Ashburton Army and the overall atmosphere at the Forest game? Look, I think people have put 2 and 2 together. I don't think the reason that the atmosphere was bad was because there was no Ashburton Army. And I'll give you as an example the Bournemouth game last season. Home against Bournemouth, 3 o'clock kickoff. The Ashburton Army were there. Really bad atmosphere until the end, where it was crazy. There are a lot of reasons that the atmosphere wasn't at its best on Saturday. Firstly, it was a lunchtime kickoff, which is always a worse atmosphere because no one's been in the pub. Secondly, there were a half-hour delay for kickoff, so the people that were stuck inside the stadium were pissed off. The people that had been stuck outside the stadium were pissed off. Thirdly, and I think this is a big thing, I think a lot of fans went into that game just expecting to win 5-0. I think compared to last season, where every game and every win and every step further was there was insane excitement around it. I think this time it's the start of a new season. We're not in a title race yet, but there was an expectation that we would batter Forest, and we didn't. And so I think that also had an effect on people and the atmosphere. Should I triple captain Maguire this week? Probably not. Who can Liverpool get for DM now? I don't know. And that's the thing. Liverpool are in serious trouble. Who do they go and get? And whoever they do go and try and get are going to demand stupid money because everyone knows Liverpool have got 110 million to spend and they are desperate for a CDM. I've heard Thuram has been mentioned. I'm surprised they've not got in for Fofana, although he's not really a CDM, but he could do the job. Would you like Ziyech and Madueke or Sterling and Madueke? None of them, to be honest. I think maybe Sterling, but beat Chelsea on the pitch and relegate them and make them suffer. The amount of egos in that room will implode, mark my words. Exactly. The Gabriel update is simply that Saudi Arabia are interested. Al Ittihad, it's believed, are the club that are interested. I can see Klopp getting sacked soon. I can see him walking. I think they'll never sack Klopp. Even if they sack Klopp, it will... The PR on it will be Jurgen Klopp has left Liverpool by mutual consent. They'll never sack him. But I think he'll walk. I think he's going to lose his mind. I really do. Even in the game against Chelsea, you saw him collapse to his knees and slamming the floor. It's game week 1, and he's just not getting the players. So why didn't they get Kone or Thuram? I don't know. They've just played the game very badly. Is Aaron Ramsdale an Arsenal player next season? I think so. Why did we sign Raya? Is he a long-term replacement? Well, let's talk about it. Obviously, we talked about it a lot already on previous streams, but now that it is done, where do you see David Raya by the end of the season? At the end of this season, has Raya replaced Ramsdale? Has it become Raya plays some games, Ramsdale plays some games? Has it failed? Do we keep Ramsdale and David Raya goes back to Brentford? And the answer is, in my opinion, I haven't got a clue. I don't necessarily know how many opportunities Raya's going to get. I'd be very surprised if Ramsdale doesn't play in the Premier League and the Champions League, which means Raya will be relying on the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. And that's not many games between now and January. Rory, mate, hope you're well. Has there been any news on Zinchenko coming back? Feels like the Timber setback would be comfortably covered with Zinchenko. He's been back in training. I think the reason he wasn't in the matchday squad on Saturday was because we didn't feel like we needed him to be in the squad. And it's better to just give him another week to kind of regain that fitness if possible. But I would expect him to be in the team, certainly in the squad, if not in the starting lineup. Against Crystal Palace next Monday. Obviously, we don't play until next Monday, which gives another couple of days to recover as well. Raya is competition for Ramsdale. Why can't people wrap their head around it? They'll both get games. Well, this is the thing, right? If you're to take Edu at his word in the interview that he gave, he said, David is a top quality goalkeeper who has consistently performed at a high level with Brentford in the Premier League. With David joining us, we are adding quality and depth to our squad so that we can perform at the highest level in all competitions. That to me says that they are competing with each other, that probably David Raya will play in cup competitions. And at the end of the season, I think a decision will be made. But the thing is, there's no real downside. Either David Raya is better than Aaron Ramsdale, or in Arteta's opinion, David Raya is better than Aaron Ramsdale, in which case we sign David Raya for 27 million quid, We probably sell Ramsdale for over 30 million quid, so we make a profit on it, and we've upgraded our keeper. Or David Raya doesn't replace Ramsdale. We don't trigger the buy option. He goes back to Brentford, and it cost us 3 million quid to have a top quality backup goalkeeper for our first season back in the Champions League. There's not really any downside to this deal. It's an amazing deal, the fact we got a loan too. Well, that's the thing. If we'd outright bought him, it would have been slightly more of an issue. But because we've loaned him, there's just no downside. Arsenal will sign Raya and keep both. Raya, I think, will play the high press games. I think the rotation would depend. See, I disagree with that, to be honest, Ross. I disagree with that. I don't see a situation where we don't still end up with a number one and a number two. It's, where do you see it? Like, you just don't see in across world football. You just don't see two number one goalkeepers. And knowing the two of them, I'm not sure either of them, personality-wise, would accept being a rotational goalkeeper and playing half a season. What happened to Matt Ryan? Legend. I don't even know where Matt Ryan's playing now, to be honest. I think the only possible downside is if it causes a problem in the dressing room. But I don't think it would in one season. So this is the thing, right? And the examples that you can use, Ramsdale replacing Leno. Leno was very professional about it and then left at the end of the season. I don't think it will cause issues. The only way I could see it causing issues would be if Raya came in and immediately just replaced Ramsdale. And I don't think this is going to happen, but if he came in and all of a sudden Raya starts in the Premier League, starts in the Champions League, because I would say as Ramsdale would rightly be pissed off, and because it would be savage. But I don't see that happening, and that's the only situation where I could see it getting problematic. Will you be at the UCL away games? Probably not, just because of how difficult it is to get tickets. I'd love to say yes, but getting tickets, so difficult. Depending on the draw, depending on the draw, unless we get a game away at a team that's like historically means they've got a massive stadium, but they don't fill it anymore, and we get a massive allocation. Then yeah. Who is coming up from the Championship this year? Good question. Who is coming up from the Championship? I think Leicester. In fact, I think Leicester and Southampton are both going to bounce back up. And then who will be the third? Who will be the third? No, Middlesbrough have lost all their players. I actually don't know. I don't know. Neymar announcement. Leeds going up in the playoffs. I don't know. Leeds have lost everyone, haven't they? Leeds are going to have lost Adams, Nonto, Sinistera. Neymar has left PSG. Fab just tweeted it. Let's see. Official confirmed. Neymar joins Al Hilal for a $300 million package record salary in 2 years. No option to extend. Salary could go up to a potential $400 million total between add-ons and commercial deals. Deal completed by his father and super agent Pinay Zahavi. So effectively, it could be $200 million a season. It's crazy. It's crazy. $200 million a season. Mental. Absolutely mental. And for me, you know, Neymar's legacy, he's 31. He could have signed a 4-year deal at a top club in Europe. I think it's embarrassing. I think it's pathetic. From a footballing perspective, Neymar's got more money than he'll ever need. And from a footballing perspective, I thought it was bad when he moved to PSG. And I think, you know, moving to Saudi now, it's just a shame, and it's just sad. Sad is what I'd describe it as. Just sad. Until the average level of homegrown talent in Saudi League doesn't improve, they won't catch up with Europe, irrespective of the money they pay. Yeah, possibly. But look at potentially the amount of like professional footballers in terms of top level European footballers that are going to be out there and start having kids out there. They'll be homegrown in Saudi. Neymar could have won a Ballon d'Or if he stayed in Europe. I agree. It's just sad. Rory, expected 11 for Palace. Ramsdale in goal. Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko, Partey, Rice, Ødegaard, Saka, Havertz, Martinelli. I think Havertz will play up top again. I think Nketiah will be dropped. Havertz will play up top. We'll go back to a similar formation to what we used to play. Away at Palace, it's a tough game. I don't think we'll mess around playing a new formation again. It's going to be so hard to guess the Gooner in 15 years, as so many clubs will be Saudi clubs. That is true. Ramsdale is younger than Raya, so why would we sell him? Well, if Raya becomes number one, Raya's 27 years old. If he signs a 5-year contract and becomes our number one, you've got David Raya for the next 5 years. Yeah, 27 is still relatively young for a goalkeeper. When's Jesus back? They were hoping the end of August, so we'll wait and see, but hopefully soon. Away at Palace is hard. They've lost 2 of their key players. Away at Palace is always hard. Quite simply, it just is. Anyway, it is time for Guess the Gooner, the game where I give you an ex or current Arsenal player's career path minus the Arsenal part of it, and you have to guess who that player is. Fastest fingers first in the YouTube chat. If you're watching on TikTok and you want to get involved, the Instagram icon in my bio will take you to YouTube. Get over there. Subscribe. We're about 50 subscribers away from 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. If you could take the time out of your day to go over to my YouTube channel and subscribe, I'd be eternally grateful for it. I really would. But anyway, let's get into Guess the Gooner. This player went on loan to Barnsley. They went on loan to Hull City. They went on another loan to Hull City. They went to Sunderland, Reading, on loan to Minnesota, Esbjerg, on loan, and then Monaco and FC Lorient. I do just have to check that no one's already got it. It's not Luke Ayling. It's not Aubameyang. It's not David Raya. It's not Maitland-Niles. Not Joel Campbell. Not Sanchez. Not Leno. So far, no one has got it. It's not Carl Jenkinson. It's not Jenkinson. No one's got it. I'll go through it again. Barnsley on loan. Hull City on loan. Hull City on loan again. Sunderland. Reading. Minnesota on loan. Esbjerg on loan. Monaco. FC Lorient. And someone has now got it. Who was the first person? It was SS9, one of the real OGs of the channel, one of the oldest members of the channel, and it is Vito Mannone. What a player. Vito Mannone, obviously he was at Arsenal, went on loan to Barnsley and Hull City twice, and then moved to Sunderland. So congratulations to SS9. Francisco Oliveira was second. Elijah was third. Ethan Udall was fourth. And Jake Madaford was fifth. There you go. Congratulations to SS9 on getting it correct first. Well done to you. Who the F is that? It's Vito Mannone. It is Vito Mannone. Vito Mannone played for Fulham. Not according to. I mean, I'll double check it. To be honest, I can't remember if Vito Mannone played for Fulham, but according to Transfer Market, Vito Mannone never played for Fulham. No. Ross Lawman is convinced that he did. I mean, I've searched Mannone Fulham, and the only thing that comes up is when he kept a clean sheet against Fulham for Arsenal. There is nothing that says Vito Mannone has ever played for Fulham. So I don't know, Ross. I don't know if at some point in your life, Ross, you've had a fever dream where Vito Mannone was playing for Fulham. But he's not. He is not. And now on to our guess, the non-Gooner. This is where I give you a player who does not and has not played for Arsenal. I give you their full career path, and you have to guess who it is. Logan says, swear these get harder and harder by the day. Sometimes they do. In fairness, the longer this goes on, the harder it's going to get, because I do have to pull out players that even I don't remember. So it does get harder as we go. Anyway, guess the non-Gooner. Started their career at Southampton. They went to Blackburn Rovers and Newcastle United. Southampton, Blackburn, Newcastle United. It's an easy one. It's an easy one. Lots of people got it on TikTok. And the first person to get it is... It's SS9. SS9, like VV Vlad yesterday, SS9 has done the dirty double. Back-to-back days of dirty doubles. Unbelievable. SS9, Alan Shearer. Jake Madiford was second. Ross Lawman, I'll give it to you, was third, although that spelling is atrocious. William Saliba with the Community Shield was fourth. And Jake Hanna was fifth. So there you go. Jake Hanna was fifth. Congratulations. I mean, look, a round of applause in the chat for SS9, who's done the double. And as Young Star says, just like Arsenal are going to do this season. Ross Lawman said, it's not my best day today. Look, we all have them. We all have them. I'm sorry, Gabriel, what? Yeah, if you're late to the stream, Gabriel, there is interest in Gabriel from Saudi Arabia. Nothing confirmed yet, no certainties yet. Where's VV Vlad? He's the banker. Yeah, he's not here today. He gave everyone else a chance. Max Winfield is still VV Vlad out. Fair play. Fair play. Look, that's going to be the end of the stream. As always, I massively appreciate you tuning in. Please do smash a like on the video if you did enjoy it. Subscribe if you're not already. I will be back at... I might not be back at 5 tomorrow. I'm doing something really cool tomorrow that I can't talk about yet, but it's really cool. I will let you know on Twitter. I will post on Twitter if and when I'm going live tomorrow. But until then, have a fantastic evening, and cheers for watching, as always.